Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Sam. I'd like to welcome you to my Eye Clarity podcast. This is a show that offers cutting edge information on how to improve your vision and overall wellness through holistic methods. I so appreciate you spending part of your day with me. If you have questions, you can send them to hello@drsambyrne.com. Now, to the latest Eye Clarity episode. Hey folks, it's Dr. Sam, and I want to welcome you to another Eye Clarity podcast. Well, we have an interview today with a really special person. His name is Nathan Oxenfeld, and he teaches something called integral eyesight improvement. So he's kind of in the same sphere as me. He teaches people natural alternatives to glasses, contacts, and surgery, how we can prevent, be proactive in healing our eyesight and vision. And Nathan has a great background, Bates method, love the Bates method, yoga, meditation, breath work, emotional work, diet and nutrition, and many other techniques to support people in their eye health. He actually created a documentary, which I'm going to talk to him about today. If you want to check him out, you can do so on his website or on his YouTube videos. I love his videos on YouTube, by the way. Check those out. So Nathan, I want to bring you on. I want to thank you for joining us today. And my first question is, who have been your biggest influences in terms of your current teachings?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sam. It's really, really special to be here with you. I've been influenced by several people, but since you mentioned the name of my practice, Integral Eyesight Improvement, that first word, integral, is very inspired by integral yoga. So I definitely want to share the inspiration I got from Swami Satchidananda, who actually founded the ashram in Virginia, where I did my yoga teacher training, Satchidananda Ashram or Yogaville. Sometimes I call it like summer camp for adults, yoga camp. And yeah, that definitely was a huge influence in the direction of my life in general, to kind of shift gears and go down the route of natural healing and alternative health and stuff. And then you also mentioned that I teach the Bates method. So obviously I've been influenced a lot by Dr. William Bates, and it's been showing up a lot in my teachings lately because I've been going through the Better Eyesight magazines that Dr. Bates published monthly from 1919 to 1930. And in 2018, we were coming up on that 100-year anniversary. So I came up with this plan to create a podcast where I read, me and other vision teachers, and maybe we can even get you involved moving forward, reading the original Bates method materials from that month 100 years ago.
Wonderful.
So definitely like getting refreshed, and it's so cool, the synchronicities of what was going on. For example, in October 1921, a lot of times it kind of lines up with whatever I'm teaching in October 2021, 100 years later. So it's just as applicable. And then, those were definitely the two biggest kind of influences in terms of the foundation of my work. But I actually worked with, a living Bates method teacher, because Dr. Bates passed away in 1931, who lives in California. Her name's Dr. Jerry Ann Tabor, and she was my vision teacher who helped me, improve my vision naturally and get off of my glasses. So those are definitely the three big ones: Swami Satchidananda, William Bates, and then Jerry Ann Tabor.
Nice. So in terms of your classes now, what are you seeing? What are people dealing with?
Yeah, well, we're in a very unique time in world history, and leading up to the pandemic and the world shutting down and people being inside all the time. I mean, people's like screen time was already skyrocketing, and then And then we had nothing else to do but just kind of stare at screens all the time. And so I've been seeing a lot more people being affected by screens lately, and just
Mhm.
showing up as, whether it's like a visual defect, like blurry vision that they didn't used to have, or
Mhm.
maybe even like a sensation, like
Mhm.
some pain or stinging, or
Mhm.
dry eye issues and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and then also just like the massive amount of stress that people have been under during this past 2 years.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I feel like that's kind of either maybe made some vision problems show up, or maybe like kind of exacerbated some pre-existing ones. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know, it was early on in the pandemic. I don't know about you, but I was hearing that people were actually finding a silver lining in it, in terms of they didn't have to drive as much. They could work from home,
Mhm.
and people were actually
Mhm.
starting to take their glasses off more and actually spend time without the glasses,
Mhm.
that they may not have
Mhm.
been able to do if they had to be commuting and going to work all the time and stuff. But
Mhm.
now that it's just dragged on and on and on, it's almost like people are getting
Mhm.
back to their lives and back to work and getting out there again. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's how do people fit this stuff into their busy lifestyle, so they, people like
Mhm.
brush their teeth and floss their teeth in the morning before they go to work, but are people doing things to take care of their eyes before work, for example? So it's tricky.
Mhm.
Everybody's really busy, but I think that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people figure out
Mhm.
how to take good care of their eyes, like when on Zoom, like we are right now. I'm not just going to be
Mhm.
staring at the screen
Mhm.
the whole time. I'm going to be looking out the window
Mhm.
and looking away from the screen
Mhm.
and blinking and things. So
Mhm.
that's what I love
Sure.
to help people with.
Yeah, I really resonate with your passion, and I would say that I have also seen a lot of computer-related eye fatigue, not only in adults but with kids being in online schools, and just the intense focus. 6, 7 hours a day, and this whole connection to our screens and how negative it is over time, whether we develop myopia or hyperopia, or we're wearing progressive lenses, and we're not getting any natural sunlight, and then there's the blue light uh, idea. So what are some strategies that you could share with our community about how to take better care of your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, what you just hit on, I think, is really important. The light factor. Um, I was
Hmm.
just teaching a class yesterday, and somebody asked, like, what's the most efficient way for me to take care of my eyes if I forget to throughout my workday? So let's say you're just working, working, working on the computer, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I've kind of neglected my eyes.
Yeah.
And my answer was
Yes.
just stepping outside and balancing the
Sure.
artificial light with natural light. Whether
Sure.
it's sunny or cloudy, just getting that
Mhm.
natural full spectrum light, I have a feeling a lot of people's eyes are kind of like deprived or deficient
Mhm.
in the light nutrient. People are aware that they're
Mhm.
maybe deficient in iron or vitamin D, but and people think about, oh, well, I can go outside and get vitamin D on my skin, but you know the
Mhm.
eyes are a big part of that too. So yeah, even though I've used the Bates method to improve my vision and I don't need to use glasses anymore, I still do light therapy every day, meaning I still,
Mhm.
walk my dog, and I still
Mhm.
go outside, and I
Mhm.
let the sun land on my closed eyes. And it's something that I foresee
Mhm.
myself doing for the rest of my life, because the benefits are,
Mhm.
I think they go well beyond just the eyes. I think it has a lot more to do with the whole system. So that's one of my
Yeah.
like really simple tips, is just to kind of get people to prioritize exposing themselves to some
Mhm.
natural light in a safe and gentle way.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then,
Really good point. And yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that
Continue.
we don't want to forget the other side of that coin. Like, I always
Yeah.
teach people to balance the sunning with the palming. So that's why I
Sure.
teach it as like sun sandwiches. to get people to think about the
Uh-huh.
light
Nice.
as like food, like feeding yourself a sandwich, but it also refers to like sandwiching the sunning with the palming. So it's really,
Mhm,
really bright and then really,
mhm,
really dark. And that back and forth between
mhm.
the two, I think, is important. So that's just a little, with the sunning comes that little reminder, to make sure you're balancing it with the palming too, to get the darkness.
Yeah, I think that, what you bring up there is it creates more broadness in our nervous system, our endocrine system to be able to have that broad band of stimulation from the light, maybe more of our sympathetic nervous system, and then palming, which is more of our parasympathetic nervous system, relaxation, rest and settle. And what do most of us do? We're on go from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and we're not even doing palming. And in watching some of your videos, I see how you emphasize the importance of taking breaks and doing palming. And it's not just go, go, go. And so, for my listeners, I want to validate what Nathan is saying, that include the stimulation, get out there in that natural sunlight, but also remember your palming, because your system, your neurological system and nervous system need both of those things as food to create that balance and harmony and avert the acute and then chronic diseases that a lot of people are suffering with their eyes. And that kind of gets their attention, and I've watched by the way, we're talking with Nathan Oxenfeld, who teaches integral eyesight improvement, wonderful vision teacher, and he's based in Vermont, but he teaches classes all over the world. And so let's move towards this creative expression you had, this documentary you did. Tell us about it, how it came about, what's it about, and how we can view it.
Yeah, absolutely. For first thing though, real quick, since you said that word broadened, you're getting me thinking, Dr. Sam, about the sunning and the palming, about kind of broadening our spectrum in terms of not just like getting the full spectrum light, but the spectrum of brightness and
Mhm.
darkness. I feel like before I
Yes.
got into this, maybe I was just kind of like, if this is the full spectrum, maybe I was kind of going from like this
Mhm.
brightness to this darkness. But when you do the sunning, you're literally
Sure.
exposing yourself to the brightest light source in the solar system. There's nothing
Mhm.
brighter than it. So it
Sure.
takes you all the way to that,
Mhm.
widened end of that spectrum. And then palming creates pitch black, which you don't even get at night when you sleep.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get
Mhm.
ambient light coming in from the street or whatever. So really, when you do that palming, it's
Mhm.
taking you way down to that dark, dark, dark place. So to kind of go back and forth and kind of
Mhm.
broaden that light spectrum and dark spectrum, I think
Mhm.
is part of what it
Mhm.
does. So I just love having this chat with you
Sure.
because it's getting me kind of brainstorming too. Um,
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, tell us about your documentary.
Yeah, so we early, I mentioned the Better Eyesight podcast. We were coming up on this 100-year anniversary of this project that Dr. Bates was doing 100 years ago. Another thing he did was not
Mhm.
just the Better Eyesight magazines, was he published a book called Perfect Sight Without Glasses in 1920.
Yeah.
So my colleague in
Amazing.
Australia and I were, Barry Alcatel, we were just
Mhm.
talking in 2018 or 2019 and just like, hey, we should, 2020 is next year. It's the 100-year anniversary of Bates's book. It's also like kind of a, play on 2020 vision. And so
Sure.
we just felt this calling to create a film, a documentary about natural vision improvement, because there wasn't one out there. And I had already put a lot of
Mhm.
videos out on YouTube to start to educate people, but it's different when it's actually like a documentary, So we, yeah, we kind of came up with this plan to travel around the world and sat down with over a dozen different natural vision teachers, um, and
Mhm.
our
Mhm.
goal was
Great.
to we asked everybody a similar set of questions, but we interviewed people
Mhm.
from around the world. So I went to an international vision conference in Europe and got to interview teachers from
Mhm.
Germany and Italy
Mhm.
and Spain. And
Mhm.
Barry came to America and we were interviewing people over on the West Coast and everything. And I went up into New England, and this was all in 2019, like right before, this wouldn't have been possible to do.
Yeah.
And so it was just
Right.
wild timing. Um, it did, the pandemic did kind of throw a wrench in our plans, because we were going to release it in early 2020 and then do like a,
Mhm.
documentary screening road trip tour kind of thing.
Oh,
But,
uh-huh.
it kind of delayed the release of it. And then we did more of kind of a virtual screening. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's still early on in its, you know, exposure to the world. And so we're still really excited for people to check it out and watch it and learn from it. It's the best way to find it is at vision2020movie.com, and you can either
Okay.
rent
I'll
it.
put that in the notes.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can either rent
Mhm.
it or purchase it. And
Okay.
yeah, I was just really, it was my first time doing anything like that. And it was very DIY, but I was really happy with how it came
Mhm.
out. And
Mhm.
I got some
Yeah.
feedback from people that even just by watching it, they were experimenting
Mhm.
with it, and even noticing some little
Mhm.
changes happening, just in the,
Mhm.
1 hour, 16-minute film.
Mhm.
So
Right. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting about that, because I've interacted with vision teachers and behavioral optometrists all over the world, and especially with social media, and everybody has their genius. We all aren't doing the same thing. So it's really cool to hear, what is somebody doing who practices in South Africa? I've worked with some of the professionals there, or in India. That's another place that people are loving the natural vision stuff. And then, of course, New Zealand and Australia, Japan. It's such a global problem, with more and more people becoming nearsighted, especially in Asia. And so to have people like us out there offering, say, something a little different than the traditional, eye care that, your eyes get worse as you get older and drugs and surgery are the only answer. And here we have something that Dr. Bates came up with over 100 years ago, and there are others also in my lineage where these behavioral developmental optometrists were amazing. I had like five behavioral optometrists who were in their 70s. I was 28 at the time. They all lived in Connecticut, and I just would be a sponge sitting in their conferences and so on. So I got a major download. And even today, the optometrists are not really accessing that level of wisdom. So here we are, and we're putting it out there, and it's all going so well. So we're coming down to the end of our time today. First of all, how can people get in touch with you? What are your offerings? And let us know how we can connect with you.
Yeah, definitely. Probably the main hub would be like the main website, integraleyesight.com. So that's going to
Okay.
pretty much plug you into all the different things I've got going on. So you can find the Better Eyesight podcast there, my other podcast, the Naked Eye podcast, um, links to the YouTube channel, because I've got a lot of like educational videos on YouTube. There's a link to the documentary through that website, and then just other information about things that I've got going on in terms of people getting involved with the work as well. Because I offer like online courses, and I'm in the middle of a current group course, so that's closed at the moment. But I usually offer those on sort of an ongoing basis, where I lead a small group of people through 6 months of the vision training. But there is
Mm-hmm.
also like a solo program that people just go through on their own whenever they want. Um,
See.
but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, kind of like how people would travel to New York and actually go to Dr. Bates's clinic and work with them more individually. That's a big part of my work as well. So I meet with people on Zoom, and we do the one-on-one coaching, and really go deeper with it that way. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think a
Mm-hmm.
good starting point would be either to check out the documentary or check out some of the YouTube videos or podcasts. Or I also do have a book called "Give Up Your Glasses for Good." So some people like to kind of get that
Nice.
written version and kind of follow the, step-by-step instructions on how to do the sunning and the palming and the different baits practices and stuff. So
Great.
yeah, over the
Excellent.
past like not 8-9 years, I've been working hard to get a lot of stuff out there to get people easy access to this information.
Yeah. And I know
And I
you've
really
got a very
appreciate you
active
doing the same.
Instagram. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we're in it together for sure. But the social media channel is such where we can do this now and to take advantage of it and just put the information out there. So I want to thank you for taking the time today for chatting with us, and we'll do it again. And I wish you the very best in what you're doing, and we'll see you down the road sometime.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam. And thanks to everyone listening and watching.
Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from the Eye Clarity podcast show today. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. See you here next time.